I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Beta and Chip and Colby.
I'm looking at this thing, International Rescue Committee. We have aid workers on the ground right now providing emergency relief to starving children in Yemen.
Oh.
$68. Okay, let's do it. Alright, so we're doing this emergency thingy for kids in Yemen. Like literally as we speak. Vin and Sori.
Cool.
Until we can figure out that what do you call it?
I know, I have to call them. She gave me her number. Her name is Tori from, or maybe that's what she thought my name was. Anyway, I have it in a voicemail. She gave me her address. Yeah. Not her address, her.
And this is nothing, we're not doing anything particularly good. We said that we were gonna, support something or other, and it's been a trillion years since we've been able to do that. So
yeah. Did you want that for here?
What? The card number? No, I got it.
Oh, okay.
I got it already.
Oh, well,
it's
that makes it easy.
The gift of keychain there. Hmm?
Just say the numbers out loud so we know if we got it. I'll double check.
What do you mean?
I'm kidding, because we're recording.
Write a personal message. Much love to you from the village.
The village! You guys should see these pictures of these little kids.
Yeah, it's really messed up what's going on.
It's really cute though. They're like feeding them like that.
These kids are literally these kids are starving to death. It's really terrible. So I'll just take a screenshot of this so people can know that like we're legit doing it. But again, hey, listen, patrons, this is where your money went to.
Yeah. So
all
shout
of
out
us,
to you guys.
All of us at the Patreon crew did this, and if you were a previous patron before and you had to check out, it works that way. You still get the credit. Believe me, I know. I'm in with the big guy. That's how it works. Trust me. But yeah. Anyway, so who knew Facebook thingies work? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we took care of that, and now we're dealing with the Doors. So the Doors, we did one song from the Doors. Apparently, like this guy, like is I forgot the guy's name, but what's his name? Solomon Kane.
Yeah.
Said that the Doors was his favorite band. I was like, what?
Really?
Yeah, like he's like a giant disciple of the Doors. Like, yeah, he's like a huge fan. So
maybe I forgot what they sounded like because I don't remember them being very heavy.
They weren't heavy, but it's like rock and roll. But it's like this guy's like a legend. He died at 27, 28 type of situation.
Yep.
But kind of a controversial dude for his time.
Yep.
So some of this is like. I mean, I only listened to one song. Some of it is like he's a good vocalist, but some of it is just the whole luster of a rock star who dies that doesn't make it into his 30s,
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, let's do it.
Oh, okay.
This is called Break On Through, parentheses to the Other Side, and it's 2.5 minutes long, so here we are.
And go.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side, yeah. We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there. But can you still recall the time we cried? Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Come on! island in your arms, country in your eyes. Arms are chains, eyes are lined. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through. Oh, oh yeah! Bay to sea, week to week, day to day, hour to hour, day straight, deep and wide. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through, break on through, break on through, break on through.
The heck is going on here? Well, it had a very dated sound to it. You know, you could picture the people.
What year is this? Must have been the 60s.
Remember those dresses that the girls would wear?
Singing about
And, like,
drugs.
went to their like waist and then went poop, and it like poofed out at the bottom.
Yeah.
The poodle on it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It seems
yeah,
like it
yeah.
was that time zone, that time period.
Yeah. I am very confused by how popular this song is. I don't know what year it was. It must have been the 60s. It usually tells you when the album came out, but... okay, so what'd you think?
Well, I mean, he was talking about breaking through on the other side with whatever's going on, I guess, in your life. The girl part was weird.
1967. This, though, like, it's gotta be some sort of, like, subliminal. Like, the whole thing must be a subliminal. Breaking onto the other side must be subliminal for something. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Like,
gotta be some
You think it has
undercurrent.
anything to do with drugs?
Well, he says
Because he talked about her. We chased her.
everybody loves my
cigarette.
baby right there. She gets high, she gets high, she gets high. I know when DMT, because not everybody who does DMT has these experiences.
Oh, really? Some
Yeah.
people take it, don't have
Some
an
people
experience.
take it and don't have an experience.
Nothing
So-
happens.
Well, basically nothing happens. Like traveling off into the cosmic whatever and meeting
Yeah.
the blue lady and all that. That doesn't happen to everybody
Yeah,
that does
that would
DMT.
totally happen to me.
So
that's why I'm not doing it.
So it's called, but when you have that experience, it's called a breakthrough.
Yeah.
So,
So that's what you think it is?
yeah, break on through to the other side. I don't know when Terrence McKenna, because Terrence McKenna is the only one I know that does all the DMT stuff. I don't know what he was doing in the 60s, so let me put, I'm just Googling Terrence McKenna 1967 to see if he was around talking about that stuff. But this guy, like, there's gotta be some sort of, no way. Terrence McKenna was, oh, no. I was wrong. He was born in 1946. So, in 1967, while in college, he discovered shamanism. Right? So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he got hooked up with Terrence McKenna. There it is right there. In 1965, McKenna enrolled in University of California, Berkeley, was accepted into the Tustman Experimental College. In 1967, while in college, he discovered and began studying shamanism through the study of Tibetan folk religion. That same year, which he called his opium and Kabbalah phase, he traveled to Jerusalem, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, maybe the whole break on through to the other side is talking about, the breakthrough that you have with drugs or whatever. Yes?
Yeah, well, it might be, but verse 3. So do you think the she is actually a woman? Or do you think the she is the DMT?
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be DMT.
Or a drug?
It could be any sort of hallucinogen, you know what I mean? Like anything that makes you whatever. But I'm looking and I don't really see a lot of.
Was there a Terrence McKenna Jim Carrey movie? Is that what that said?
No, there was a
I was gonna say,
Morrison.
I want to watch that shit tonight.
Yeah. I don't really see a big connection between McKenna and Morrison, but Okay. All right. So you know the day destroys the night. Night divides the day. That's interesting because night dividing the day, isn't that Genesis 1? You know where it says to divide the sun and the moon were there to divide the day from the night and all that?
Yeah.
Isn't that Genesis 1?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's very interesting the way he words it. I never thought of that. Like, if there was no night, it would be continuous day, and so the night divides the day. Like, because I always think, like, day, night.
Right.
Day, night. So I don't think of the night as dividing the day.
Yeah, what's interesting though, he characterizes the day as destroying the night, whereas night only divides the day.
Yeah.
So I think he's partial to darkness, basically. Because the day is being portrayed as like some invader. It destroys the night.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then night simply divides the day. It's just minding its own business, trying to,
Oh, yeah.
you know, just dividing the day.
Poor
but here,
little night.
Yeah, but here comes day to come in and destroying everything in the night. So if you're a night person, you kind of feel like that. I kind of feel like that. Like I don't really like seeing sunrise per se. I like when it starts.
And
Like,
I'm not like that. I like the shades open.
Right. Right. That's actually a conflict that we have, right?
It
Like,
is.
you like having the shades open. I don't.
Right away when I wake up, I want to open up the shades and I want to see the brightness and feel the sun.
Yeah.
And you don't. And you
I don't wanna-
typically win over. But I'll tell you what, after the baby's born, you're going to have to compromise
I
on
don't
that.
typically win over. I come out of the shower and everything's wide open. for
No,
all
when
the
has it
world
been
to see.
open, babe? It hasn't been
For all
open
the
for a
world
long
to see.
time.
If you want to see
So dishonest.
Vin in all his glory, just be my next door neighbor because
Good Lord.
this one just leaves everything wide open. You know it's true.
It's not true.
Anyway.
It happens a handful of times.
Okay, all right. A handful of times.
I haven't had the windows open for a
A
long
handful
time.
of times to this one is like 50,000, I guess. But
We haven't even been married for 365 days.
Genesis, what is it? Genesis 1:18. I've been trying to look for the passage. So this is interesting. In Genesis 1:18, it says that God set them in place in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, to separate light from the darkness. So,
Yeah.
you know, tried to run, tried to hide. I think he's trying to hide from the light, right? Because if you're a night person, you're partial to the light, then you're partial to the night, then he's trying to run and hide from the light then. Break on through to the other side, break on through. So in verse 1, if you attach it to the course, what's the other side? Like where you can be in darkness?
I guess. Darkness.
We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there, but can't you still recall the time we cried?
See, that part made me think of the typical rock star lifestyle. Like, we chased our pleasures here, we dug our treasures there. Like, they were going everywhere, doing what they wanted. But then he's saying, like, I think he's being honest, and he's saying, like, but don't you remember, like, when we cried? Like, it's, you know, it hasn't all been glory, you know?
Right.
There's been just low.
Right.
Too.
So it's really interesting because it looks like break on through to the other side kind of morphs meaning
I was gonna say, maybe it means different things.
depending on what the previous verse is saying, right? So like you're trying to run and you're trying to hide from the light, so then you can break on through to the other side, whatever that is. And then here, you know, the lifestyle
And it
of,
might not be like literal darkness. It just might mean the dark. You know, we talked about November rain.
yeah.
You know, maybe it's one of those things where it's just the dark phases of life. But then why is he talking about the sun like it's a bad thing? Never mind.
Yeah. Well, I think he's writing this way on purpose. Because, you know, it's like you have like these different ways of interpreting what he's saying. This happened last time too, like he was talking about a yellow bus or a blue bus or something like that. And it ended up being like
Oh, yeah,
code.
that's right.
It ended up being code for drugs or something like that. Because we do look at the comments, so we can,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah, I do remember that actually.
Yeah. So
They take a trip on the blue bus or something like that.
we dug our treasures there, you know, digging for gold basically. And I think you're right about the, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. the money and all this, but it's still, you end up crying at the end.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
some of these drugs like have a terrible come down feeling, like ecstasy.
gosh.
And people come off ecstasy and they're all
what?
they're all emotional. My we used to know these people that used to do this. Khat was a drug, Khat.
Yeah.
And like when dudes are on Khat, like fighting, like you could shoot them, and they'd still keep fighting. Like
Isn't that the same for heroin?
Heroin kind of like
crack or something?
As
One of
far
those
as I
like
know,
when
heroin just makes you kind of space out. Like Khat makes you feel.
Crack then.
Khat makes you feel superhuman.
Yeah, because
He's-
I've heard of people like fighting people that were using crack or something like that, and they said like the person didn't stop fighting. Like
Well,
they
yeah,
just keep going.
yeah, but it's like usually when people are shot, when people get shot,
Yeah.
like that's it. You go down. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how tough you are. These dudes are on Khat. They were getting hit 2, 3, 4 times, and they were still running around like crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
They'd chew it all day. And then when it's time to fight, they'd just be all crazy. But when they come down from Khat, they would cry like babies.
Why?
Because the come down from Khat was just so extreme. Because you go from like feeling like you're literally invincible to, you know, like these guys in ISIS, a lot of people don't know. They're like, oh man, these guys are brave warriors, blah, blah, blah. They got these guys juiced up like crazy before they go out and fight.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's not all like, oh wow, these are fierce warriors and blood. That's not how it is. They're all jacked up on Khat. But yeah, I used to talk to this guy and he was like, yeah. But then he'd talk about coming down on Khat and he was terrible. Cry his eyes out. And this was like a, you know how some guys act like they're tough, but they're really not tough. Like this is a hard dude.
Yeah.
He was a hard dude, this guy, and he'd tell you like straight up, like that's why he quit.
The come down was too hard.
It was just too much. It's too much.
Oh my gosh.
And plus, he wasn't in a situation where he needed to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, you know,
Yeah.
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 But he was saying like dudes get addicted to the. He was saying there is nothing like fighting, like gunfighting while you're on Khat. There's no, you'll never get that feeling again in your life.
Whoa.
Yeah, for sure. I was like, that's why you guys can't shoot for
Did you
shit.
ever try it?
No. I would never go into a situation like that.
No,
Are
well,
you kidding
yeah,
me?
but it doesn't have to be in a
That's
situation.
why those
like
guys,
that.
those guys can't shoot for shit. That's why they're all. It's like,
No,
oh,
but
okay.
just on.
that explains
Do people
it.
do it other than just that? Don't people? I thought that was from your country or something. No.
My country? No. We were doing ganja.
Well, what the hell's the difference? It kind of sound the same when you talk
Ganja
about
and
it.
Khat are completely
What
different.
is ganja more like?
Ganja's weed. It's weed. It's just, yeah, hey man, Bob Marley, da 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 da. But Khat is a whole different ball game. Whole different ball game.
I can't believe that.
If a dude's high on weed
So
and you
weed
shoot
is
him,
illegal in Jamaica?
well, yeah. Look, if somebody's on weed and you shoot that guy,
Yeah.
that's the end. You ever heard somebody say like, "You're killing my high"?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, that'll kill your high for sure. That's not the same thing at all. That's just you being a racist. All black African countries are the same. There's no correlation whatsoever between weed and Khat. But anyway, I don't think he was doing Khat, but it's kind of goes along with that. Like you get
Okay.
these highs from the pleasure and the treasure, but
Yeah.
then there are these like really, really crazy lows.
Right. Oh, so that could be as a double for what's actually happening or the drug.
Right.
I see. Okay.
Right, you get these highs and and I think, you know, a lot of people make that conscious trade-off. They go, okay, I know I'm gonna feel like shit for, you know, X amount of hours, but what if you had an infinite supply of all these drugs? Like for a normal person, it's like, oh man, it's not worth it. But let's say that you were a multi-cajillionaire and you can have as much drugs as you wanted. So you could say to the person, yeah, but the come down's crazy. And you could say, well, yeah, when I feel
Just
like I'm
don't come
coming
down.
down, I'll just do it again.
Yeah. No.
Until you
no.
break on through to the other side.
Oh man, I don't have that draw for all that stuff.
I mean, yeah, I don't either, but I mean, it just seems to me that this guy had he basically made a decision like, hey man, everybody loves my baby. She gets high. See, I'm not sure if he's talking about a person or because if he were to say she gets you high, then I'd say, okay, his baby is a drug.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this with the other thing where the
Yeah.
guy was basically saying he was in a relationship with weed.
Yeah.
But maybe
But the drug gets high.
she gets high.
Yeah, she is the drug. She gets high. It just might be a way, because look at the next one. I found an island in your arms, country in your eyes, arms that chain, eyes that lie.
That's smart. That's good writing. No two ways about that. This dude can write his ass off. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I found an island in your arms. Country. Yeah. Yeah, it just seems to be, again, that back and forth.
Promises a lot,
Yeah.
and then all it lands being is
That back and
something
forth
else.
with arms that chain.
I know. He says, I found an island in your arms. If you said that to somebody, you're like, whoa, there's a lot of, that's some romantic
as
shit
hell.
right there, yeah.
That's
But then he says, arms that chain.
yeah, the arms that brought him to the island were chaining him, and the country.
And then country in your eyes, eyes that lie.
Yeah,
So everything that was good is not there anymore.
and that's right after he's talking about his baby.
Right.
Everybody.
I
loves
think it's
my
the
baby.
drug. I think
it
he's talking
might be
about
a
a drug.
double because it was also like that free love stuff. Remember the free love stuff in the '60s, the sexual
Yeah,
revolution?
yeah.
So everybody loves my baby. It might be one of those situations where like she's, you know, they're all doing the free love thing.
Could be.
And maybe he resents her for it.
Could be.
You know what I mean? So it might be a double. Like his baby might be drugs, or it might be some.
Yeah, but it didn't
some
sound
girl.
like he was a negative thing when he was singing it. He didn't sound resentful.
Well, yeah, but
You hear the girls
but
laughing
then
when they're
in
supposed to be doing
part
multiplication.
3, in verse 3, it sounds like there's some resentment there. Arms that chain, eyes that lie. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think some of this is probably trying to deal with all the revolutions that were happening in the 60s. You had black folks, you had women, and then on top of that, you had feminism. And then you had the sexual revolution, which was, you know, in my opinion, an overcorrection from the puritanical ways that society was being run. And I think everybody was having a hard time trying to balance everything out. You know, because you had the drug thing. Everybody was experimenting with drugs and Eastern mysticism and free love, and it was like you were young, so it's like, oh yeah, your parents had all these social mores, but we're not going to have them. We're going to go out and experience as much as we possibly can. Which, of course, it's like I always say. Chesterton says, if you're on a road and you see a guardrail, you better figure out why the hell it's there before you take it down. Mm-hmm. And so, like, it's always, like your parents had some probably over puritanical ideas about sexuality and drugs and things like that. But there was a reason. And it took us an entire generation to figure out, oh shit.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a good idea to go out and have sex with 19 partners.
Right.
You know, because at the end of the sexual revolution, you had the 70s, and then into the 80s, you had an AIDS epidemic. Mm-hmm. So it's like, there's your free love.
There's got to be a culture shock, too, going from the 50s to the 60s. You know, because when you look at, like, pictures of people from the 50s and, you know, how everything was, and there was a lot of restraint.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
But things were...
Well, I mean, you know, you had all these movements happening, and then, like, if you were a kid and you were kind of conscious, you were socially conscious, like the modern SJW. That's why I laugh at people like, oh, you're an SJW. It's like, well, who are the SJWs in the 60s? Mm-hmm. They were the feminists and the civil rights leaders. All these people hypocritically say that Martin Luther King's a good guy now. Mm-hmm. You would have been, if you're making fun of social justice people now, what do you think, whose side do you think you would have been on back then? So you had all these kids that were like, hey, Martin Luther King's cool, JFK's cool, and then you looked at your parents, you're like, you racist bastards, I'm not going to listen to anything you have to say because you're wrong about this. So because you're wrong about this, you must be wrong about everything. So let's do as many drugs and have sex with as many people we possibly can. And I think that he captures that, you know. Yeah. But I think he's having I think he's struggling with, because when you're young and you're good looking and you're a rock star and you can sing and you have access to as many these vices as you could possibly have.
Oh, yeah.
And then it creates a lot of conflict within yourself.
Yep.
Like you see it all the time. It doesn't matter with these guys. Whoever gets that, it always ends up being destructive. Made the scene week to week, day to day, hour to hour. The gate is straight, deep and wide.
That reminds me of that Bible verse.
This guy says a lot without saying a lot.
Yeah. Yes.
Narrow is the gate that leads to life, and broad is the way that leads to destruction.
Mm-hmm.
But narrow is the way that leads to salvation, and few there be that find it. But
Yeah.
here he's saying that the gate is straight, deep and wide.
Yep.
Sounds like a sexual reference to me, I think. And he wants to break on through to the other side. So,
Well, I didn't get that.
what did you get out of it?
I thought he was saying, made the scene week to week, day to day, hour to hour. Like, he was always making the scene. Like, he was always like, you know, I guess like, to me that meant like Rico Suave in the moment. Like, he was always, you know, if you say like, you made the scene, or you made the night, or you made the, you know, whatever, like he was on the top of his game. But then at the end it says the gate is straight, deep and wide. And so, which kind of goes back to the whole, what he had said before. Well, kind of like that, where it seems good, but then it's not good. I found an island in your arms, that whole thing.
How do you get that out of the gate is straight, deep and wide?
Only because I'm thinking about that reference.
Yeah, but still, even if he was referring to that, which he probably was, how
Because
does
it says wide is the gate that leads to destruction. So if he knows that, maybe he has some background or whatever, he says the gate is straight, deep and wide. It's wide open for him to go in that direction, but in the end it's not good.
Yeah, but the straight gate is the right one. Right? The straight gate is the right one. In Pilgrim's Progress, the straight gate was the gate that Pilgrim had to go through. So,
The gate that's straight is the easy route.
nuh-uh. Pilgrim's Progress, the straight gate was the gate that the guy had to go through.
I don't remember the straight gate in that. I'm talking about
Enter ye at the straight gate. For wide is the gate and broad
is the way that leads to destruction.
Yeah.
So that's the good one.
What I'm saying is it seems like he's stacking them on top of each other. Because the straight gate is the right one, but then the wide one is the bad one. You see what I'm saying? Because if you break the verses apart, it's Matthew 7 where he says, "Enter by the narrow gate or the straight gate." That's the KJV. For the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter it are many.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So then that's both.
So he's saying that the gate is straight, but then it's deep and wide. It's kind of it's probably like
the same thing, like what I
it's
was
probably a
saying.
precautionary tale. Like it looks like he's going down the right way because the context is salvation, about being saved, and so depending on what you consider hell is how you're going to define salvation.
All those things he was saying, it seemed good and it wasn't good. It seemed good, it wasn't
Right.
good. So why would the same thing there?
Well, yeah, my point is whatever you consider hell to be is what you're going to consider salvation to be. So if hell is living a boring life and hell is being sexually repressed and hell is not experiencing everything you can experience, then salvation is not being sexually repressed, having free love, having all the drugs, da-da-da-da. But then when you get into it, you realize, well, shit, this isn't the way either. But then by that time, you end up trapped because he says earlier, to your point, arms that chain. So you end up getting trapped in it. But he says a lot. He says a lot with a little. You gotta give him credit for that. Good Lord.
I don't even know how to rate this one. It was so dated sounding. You know.
I'll give it an 8, mostly because of the lyricism.
The lyrics were good and it sounded fun. Like it had that fun sound to it.
If I was a rebellious teenager in the 60s, I would really enjoy this band and this song. Because this guy kind of has this kind of energy of like, the embodiment of all that stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
And it must have been risky talking about getting high. Well, I don't know. In the 60s, that probably wasn't that risky.
I don't think so.
I don't think that was that risky. But I think everybody was
It's the thing to do.
getting high at that point, yeah. So that's probably not that risky. Yeah, it's an 8 for me because of the lyricism. I really didn't like the music. I thought the music was,
Well, it was dated. Back in that time, that's exactly what it sounded like.
yeah, it definitely wasn't a classic for me. But
Yeah.
I thought the music was but I thought the lyrics that this guy has are very, very intriguing. Because like I said, he says a lot with a little.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a really, really big talent, to be able to do that. To be able to say something so significant in such a short period of time,
Yeah.
I think is huge.
If you like were watching a movie and there was like a scene with teenagers back in the 60s and like this song was playing in the background,
Soundtrack.
they were all getting together for a party, like
Yeah.
it would fit perfectly.
Write the soundtrack to my life. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I gotta believe that that's a lot of people's draw to this band. Because this is a really, really big band, apparently. Like, Solomon King was schooling me. Like, a lot of people were like, But I just feel like it's an emotional thing because he captured a certain zeitgeist of the seats in Laban back then.
I think I'm going to go with an 8.9.
8.9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's very... I liked what he was talking about. I think he said a lot with his lyrics. And I think that it was an important message, that what he said with his lyrics. And honestly, like, I have a little bit of love for that sound.
Really?
That kind of fun... Yeah. It's like fun
Well,
sound.
yeah. You like to have fun with that stuff and all that jazz. All right. Well, there you are.
There's a little poodle skirt.
Yeah. Anybody knows where to get a poodle skirt? Let me know.
No,
I'll
I
get-
would look ridiculous in a poodle skirt.
You wouldn't look ridiculous.
I would look ridiculous in a poodle skirt.
You'd be fine. All right. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.
Anybody knows where I can get a poodle skirt?
Plain to see, week to week, day to day, hour to hour, day to straight, deep and wide, break on through to the other side.